So Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro are on Fox News here, and they are coping and seething at the fact that there are a bunch of right-wingers now who are anti-Israel, who are Israel skeptical, to say the least. They're going to have a little whine fest, a little moan fest here. I can't help but think that in the back of their minds, they're primarily thinking of Tucker Carlson for one, Nick Fuentes for another. And so let's see what they have to say, and we'll break it down.
You and I, had people who we thought were conservatives sound a lot like the Marxist Islamists who were attending this event last week, don't they?
They literally have, they have one trick. They have one trick. Come up with bad-sounding thing, throw that label on anybody who disagrees with you, right? Surprised they didn't say Hamas, right? But usually you're an anti-Semite, you're Hamas, or now they're going with, these right-wingers are, quote, Marxist Islamists. Really? Really? We're supposed to believe there aren't even left-wingers who are Marxist Islamists, which, by the way, is kind of a contradiction in terms because Marxists are usually atheists, right? But there aren't even left-wingers who are Marxist Islamists. And now you're saying there are right-wingers who are Marxist Islam. What am I going to do with these people? Can you try to make an argument that sounds remotely fucking convincing, please? Just make it so I have to think about it for 2 seconds.
Attending this event last week, don't they?
I think it's exactly right. Unfortunately, there's a grievance culture that has become the dominant strain on the left that says that all people in the world who are poor, who have bad lives, that is the fault of the West, that is the fault of Israel, it's the fault of capitalism, it's the fault of the Jews, it's the fault of anyone except for themselves. They have no agency, and thus all the systems must be torn down from the rooftops all the way down to the ground.
Yeah, that mindset is purely a left-wing mindset. There are no right-wingers who say, man, we really need a page one rewrite of this shit. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. No right-wingers say that. That is a purely left-wing view. And that view happens to be correct. Like, I love how Ben Shapiro looks at a system where the bottom 80% of Americans hold only 7% of the wealth, and he thinks, that makes sense. I love how he sees the top 1% holding 30% of the wealth, that's $43 trillion, and he thinks, that's good. The bottom 50% has 2.6% of the wealth, and he thinks, that's how it should be. 3 billionaires have more wealth than the bottom half of the country combined, and he thinks this is how it should be. Like, this makes sense. This is good. This is meritocracy. It's just incredible to me the way that this guy thinks. Like, it is all fucking... he's so cucked to the hierarchy, and he will defend it no matter how out of whack it gets. And it's already insanely out of whack.
That sort of mirrored on a weird horseshoe part of the right that is now arguing sort of the same thing, that the problems that people have are intractable, that there's a shadowy group that's manipulating all of this, that America actually was never great. America was wrong in World War II. America never landed on the moon. And these kind of two forces are now bizarrely joining hands in the middle. It's very strange.
Look, I can say with a lot of certainty, there is no joining in the middle. It's still fuck Tucker Carlson now and forever. Yes, he's more anti-Israel than you are, right, Ben? But he still does the show, I like Israel. He still does that whole shtick, right? Like, he's not where I am. He just does this stupid, like, oh, what about America first? Why are we focusing on that when we should focus on this? And it's like, that's not the same thing as saying genocide is unequivocally bad and wrong and Benjamin Netanyahu should be arrested and put behind bars for life. Those are different perspectives. One is that, like, anti-war right-wing perspective, which never comes with moral terms and ethical terms. That's different from what we're doing.
It was never great. America was wrong in World War II. America never landed on the moon. And these kind of two forces are now bizarrely joining hands in the middle. It's very strange.
Do you think there's enough of an effort to push back? I find that conservative groups and conservative organizations that have these weekend events and these seminars, whether they're for young people or think tanks or that sort of thing, they sort of sprinkle these events with these kooks. They sprinkle these events with these American haters who claim to be American firsters and are fake MAGA and even stab the president in the back.
Oh, my God. They're fake MAGA and they stab the president. So, in other words, if you disagree with Trump on like 3% of things and you're in MAGA, well, you're no longer MAGA. Why? Because the thing that they were disagreeing with Trump on was bombing Iran. And, of course, Levin and Ben Shapiro desperately wanted to bomb Iran. So now they're like, we agree with Trump, you're fake MAGA. We agree with Trump, you're fake MAGA. It's so fucking disingenuous because we all know there are issues where Trump agrees more with the Tuckers of the world than he does with Ben Shapiro. And on those issues, you guys would disagree with Trump. Ben Shapiro has publicly disagreed with Trump on a number of issues. Do they get to now turn around and say, well, you're fake MAGA? It's like, no, you all are still in the fucking tent. Like, you're all still MAGA. But they're doing this thing where it's like, I represent true MAGA. No, I represent true MAGA. And it's like, bro, at the end of the day, Trump himself is all that MAGA is. It's a fucking personality fascist death cult. Like, wherever he goes is where it goes. And you all fucking know that. But you're desperately trying to gain favor with the audience by saying, well, we're true MAGA and Tucker Carlson is not and Nick Fuentes is not.
Leaders who claim to be American firsters and are fake MAGA and even stab the president in the back.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely an attempt by some of these organizations to, quote unquote, maintain the big tent. But the reality is that, as many have said, the problem with a big tent is that you may end up with many, many clowns inside. And the most fundamental thing is that just because you're saying somebody votes Republican, that does not mean that they ought to be the preacher at the front of the church. They're not the person who ought to be leading the movement if they are spending all day criticizing the president of the United States as covering up a Mossad rape ring or being a tool.
Okay, but he is. You don't get to do this. Well, they tell the truth, so they don't get to be at the front of the line. It's like, okay, well, then what you're saying is we want to be the liars who lead everybody as opposed to people who are telling the truth about that. Like, it's such bullshit. Like, obviously, Trump... Guys, it just came out yesterday. Trump, his love letter to Jeffrey Epstein on his 40th birthday or whatever it was, 40th, 50th, whatever it was. It, like, the whole thing, drawing a picture of a naked girl, it looked like, not a woman, a girl, saying, oh, enigmas never age. We share a lot in common, Jeffrey, don't we? Yes, we do. May another day be another wonderful secret. What are you fucking pedos yapping about, bro? Yes, Trump is covering up a fucking Mossad Epstein child rape ring. Yes, he is. I love how he says that, like, you can't talk about that and be a conservative. Well, I got bad news for you. About half the conservatives I see on Twitter are doing exactly that. They're talking about that.
Mossad rape ring or being a tool of the Israelis for hitting an Iranian nuclear facility, a thing he has said literally his entire career that he was going to do. And so it seems to me that if we are to hold anything in sort of reverence, it ought to be the fundamental tenets of the American Republic.
Okay, Trump literally said that he ended up doing the bombing of Iran for Israel. He literally said that. In fact, I think it's in this thread. President Trump said a week ago explicitly that the Iran strike was for Israel. Quote, Israel is amazing. Nobody has done more for Israel than I have, including the recent attacks with Iran.
Believed to reside in conservatism. And if conservative organizations are simply going to give up the ghost on that in order to maintain a sort of pseudo-coalition, that is a gigantic moral and political mistake.
All right, I got bad news for Ben Shapiro, and I got bad news for Mark Levin. The cat's out of the bag. There are a significant number of conservative Republicans, of MAGA types, who are just not for Israel. They're just not. And maybe it's not for the same reason I'm anti-Israel. You know, I'm anti-genocide for moral reasons and ethical reasons. I'm opposed in principle to shooting kids in the face and starving them to death. I know, radical, right? And they're more like, hey, why are we sending them our money? They have universal health care. We don't. Not that these people support universal health care. None of them do. But it's more of a perspective of, why are we giving them money? Like, fuck them, right? And Fuentes goes further where he thinks it's literally like all Jews are evil and Jews have infiltrated the government and they're fucking, taking it over. And so he takes it another step further. But the bottom line is there's some percentage of young Republicans that it's over. Like, they're not coming back to your way of thinking. It's just not happening. And so, look, to be fair to Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin, a poll just came out the other day. 83% of Republican voters still support Israel. So they have 83% of the base with them on this particular issue. There's no doubt about it. But you know who they're losing for sure? Young Republicans. Because they are much more likely to be Tucker supporters or Groyper, Nick Fuentes supporters. And they're never going to see eye to eye with you. They're never going to see eye to eye with you on that. So you can try to do your little segment here, your little Weasley segment where you say, like, no, we're true MAGA, we're true conservative Republicans, and they're not, and actually they're more like leftists, but it ain't gonna work, dog. It is not gonna work. That ship has sailed, and this is a pathetic little effort to try to, fucking convince people that you're the only true voice of MAGA reason when, I'm sorry, dude, nobody has been more perpetually wrong about fucking everything than Ben Shapiro. This motherfucker was cheerleading the Iraq War when it happened. Okay? This guy has never met a war he didn't fucking like. He wants a bigger war with Iran, and he can't wait for the next round of attacks. All right? Never mind all the tax cuts for the rich that he supports. Never mind, like, just everything. Supporting torture back during the Bush years. Defending targeting civilians on purpose as he did. It just doesn't, like, Ben Shapiro is wrong about everything. I don't know if I've ever seen something he's right on. I'm not kidding. So, let them have their little whine fest, their little moan fest. But the fact of the matter is, we are here for this right-wing civil war. I want them to duke it out. I want to see Tucker versus Ben Shapiro or Mark Levin. I want to see these guys rip each other apart. And remember, guys, I always point this out. The reason why this is important, too, is that it's a sign that the movement is failing. It's a sign that now there's different factions. They're splitting up. They're not able to keep the tent together. They're not able to do it. That's it. And that only happens when the approval rating of the leader sinks and there's no more euphoria. There's no more happiness. There's no more clear-cut vision. And look, that's what happens with Trump out there covering up the Epstein files and bombing Iran and now attacking Venezuela and opening up his concentration camps and, all this shit. Now Trump's approval rating is 37% in one poll, 38% in another poll. And so he's not really well liked. And so people from within the movement are figuring out who to blame for the negative things and who to take credit for the things they think are popular. And that's what we're witnessing here. But at the end of the day, the biggest dividing line for these guys is the issue of Israel. Mark Levin, it's Israel, it's war with Iran, and Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro want that, and there are some top MAGA figures who oppose that, and that's where the hatred comes from. That's where this comes from, and they will, hopefully they spend more time attacking each other than going after the left, because, as I said, this is what divide and conquer looks like. You guys go for each other's jugulars, and we'll be over here in the corner eating popcorn, watching, laughing, and hopefully, in short order, winning. All right, guys. That's the show, y'all. I love y'all very much. You guys know the drill. Everybody, please do me a big favor. Subscribe to the channel. That helps out massively. Support the show on Patreon. That also helps out a lot. Or you could tip with that thanks button on YouTube. Remember, this is actual independent media. There's very few of us out here these days, but we're that. You could also sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack and go subscribe to the Corn's World YouTube channel where we go live. Try to do it Monday, every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, I love you guys. I'll see you soon. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.